Alright YouTube, what is going on? It is ConflctNerd Callum here today, bringing you another episode of my Transport Fever Let's Play and Let's Get Scotland Moving. In today's episode, we need to go ahead and focus on the lowlands. I mean, just look at this. Does anyone remember that these two towns exist in this map, Dumfries and Carlisle? Literally, they are, the bus between them has 3 buses on the line, and that is not even a joke, by the way. You can see here the Carlisle Dumfries has 3 buses on it. Only 3 buses, that is just unbelievably pathetic. So that is something which we are going to go ahead and turn our attention to later on in the episode. It's a region which I have neglected, and I've said I've neglected it, and I said I was going to fix it. And we did work on Newcastle a little bit, to be fair, and we've been down to Prestwick, but it's these 2 towns in the middle which really just haven't seen anything come their way, so that is something which we are going to work on. And as well, not in this episode, well maybe in this episode actually, we might start building our lower circle. Right now we've got half of the lower circle which goes from Newcastle through Berwick, Dunbar, Edinburgh, Stirling, Glasgow. It only goes to Glasgow right now. We need to extend it down to Prestwick, then to Dumfries, then Carlisle, then that would complete the loop, and that would be the lower, or I guess it's really the lowland loop that would really be. So going back to where we were in the last episode, we're going ahead and working on our Highland Railway. Now I need to notify you of 1 or 2 changes before we go ahead and get to that. So the first thing is I'm starting to do some auto updates on bus, is just because the fact that I'm starting to get those messages, you know, when it says, oh, this duration bus is going to expire, it's reached its limit, whatever it is. I've gone ahead and started to do that. That is something which it personally bugs me a lot, so I've decided to go ahead and get a lot of these on the go. However, we are really needing to go ahead and do some micromanagement shortly to actually pay attention to detail, because there's a lot of lines now which are in the negative, which is a real shame, and I'm not really at all sure why all of a sudden it's all gone to shit. And there isn't really that many amazing profitable lines. I mean, we're looking at Inverness there, so that's amazing, but there's a lot of them which are extremely close to going into the negative, or they're just continuing to go downhill. For example, here the Glasgow Stirling, I'm pretty sure finances. This one here is, the gap is getting closer and closer in general. I think it's the running costs are going up and up and up, and the profit is going down and down and down. So that is something which, as you can see, actually in 2028 it made a loss overall. So it's something that we need to go ahead and deal with. On top of that, I added in a new train onto the Isle of Stirling Railroad. That was to go ahead and deal with. Basically, there's just too much stuff over here, and there still is. With an extra train, there's still too much stuff being produced over here, which, to be fair, I really can't complain about at all, but at the same time I am struggling a little bit on capacity, so that's why I went ahead and added in a train, and that means at the other end that there should be more goods going through our food processing plant, and that means in general there should be more profit going out onto the streets. As you can see here, production at this food processing plant is absolutely amazing. I cannot believe that. That is the highest number I've seen, and if anything it should just keep growing, it shouldn't go backwards. That is one thing which I've been saying too much, that is for sure. I was editing yesterday's Another Brick in the Mall episode, and I would not stop saying that. It was ridiculous. I said it 4 times in the space of 2 minutes. That is something that I need to try and snap out of. That has actually lowered the profits on the line though. Well, before I went ahead and edited it, I was at 10.5 million, so it's just gone from under to over, so not really at all sure if it's just fluctuating or if that's actually the accurate profit. We'll come back and look at that. And finally, on the North Food line, I finally added in another train, and it's now consistently been in the green. I've not seen it go negative at all. The reason I added in another train was because there's easily need for it. As we can see here, there is so much food being produced, and one train can only carry, I'm not really at all sure how much it can carry, to be fair actually. Let's go ahead and have a wee look here. So you can only carry 130, so if anything I probably need to add on a 4th train onto this line. The production is doing quite well, the best that it has been in a while. However, I'm worried that it's going to go back under that 400 threshold. I think why it's doing so well is it's because it broke that 400 threshold and leveled up, because when you reach like 100, 200, 400, 800, you basically level up your farm so the capacity increases. I don't want it to drop back below that 400 mark. Right, anyway, enough of that. Let's go ahead and continue where we were with our railway line. So, it's actually analysed how the railway line is doing. So this is right now the Edinburgh to Inverness. So currently it's making a loss. We made a start to it, which was the stretch from Edinburgh Waverley, then to Edinburgh Park, then to Perth. And the two trains aren't actually doing too bad. Let's be honest. I mean, it's a good start anyway. I think that's taking a lot of pressure off the bus, and that's one of the reasons the bus is maybe in the negative, but at the same time there's still a lot of people waiting to go on the bus down to Edinburgh. So I've actually gone ahead, and I'm going to be totally honest, I've gone ahead and pre-built the line. The reason is because it's all underground. So 2 episodes ago I said that I was up in the Highlands, and that was actually last weekend I was in the Highlands, and I got some, I'll put a photo on screen right now actually. This was me basically on the A9, which is the road which connects up from, well, part of the road anyway. It goes from Perth to Inverness, and it is a very, it's a very windy, bendy road. It's not the best road, but the scenery, and as you can see from this picture here, the scenery is just absolutely amazing. And as we're going along, the train line runs pretty much parallel. It's always in the same valley. It's maybe not right beside the road, because at times the valley can maybe be half a mile wide, but it does overlap. It goes under, it goes over the road quite a little bit. And this was just a shot. I just seen the train going by, and I was like, you know what, this would be absolutely great for my Transport Fever series. So here it is, and that just gives you a better feel, I think, of what Scotland really looks like. When I think about the remoteness in the Highlands, that's your image. Everyone has an image of what an area looks like, and it's usually something you've seen before. So if you've not seen Scotland's natural scenery before, then you probably weren't picturing it quite like that. It's actually, the Highlands are very, very, especially some of the hills in this image and in this area. This is near Dromochta, which is the highest point on the, I don't know if it's the highest point of road in Scotland. I don't think it maybe is, but it's a significant point anyway. I think it's maybe the highest point of the A9, but as you can see, the hills are bare and there's no trees for miles. That's just how it is. It's very barren. Right, so let's go ahead and analyse what I've actually done. So from Perth, we come out of Perth and it's not the best, I'm not gonna lie. It's a bit a sharp turn, then a straight section, then a gradual larger turn. It actually, due to, and this was the problem which I said we were going to have, it's because Pitlochry and Aviemore are just on so different levels. The railway line is underground, then it comes out from underground, then it goes back underground, and the railway station is right here. So this here is something which I am not too happy about. It's just awkward. So I've gone ahead and built the station here. The good reason is the station's here is that it's beside the bus station, which is grand. However, at the same time, I don't really feel it serves Pitlochry at all, because the bus station's at the very top of the town and so is the train station. So it's just, like the centre point of Pitlochry I'd maybe classify as all the way down here, but then that's actually quite close to Perth station, so I don't know how good this station is going to be, to be honest. I might land up moving it, maybe for example over to here and actually have an above ground station if it doesn't work out. I'm a little bit sceptical, and there's obvious reasons why. Then coming up to Aviemore, there's no actually above ground section, and the reason is because of it's sort of just, I think the height map's actually done quite well here. It's actually captured quite a lot of hills, and there's such a difference. There's no flatlands. Even if a part of the railway line was above ground, it would be a very, very small section, just like this section is here with these two tunnels. You wouldn't see much of it at all, and it made sense for me to keep it underground. So as you can see here, it's quite a gradual bend in this part of the line. Everything from north of here is pretty fine, to be fair. Then we come in here to Aviemore. Again, the positioning of the station here at Aviemore, I'm not 100% about. Aviemore it's grown very, very strange. It's grown through the valleys and out on the flat land. So as you can see down here to the southwest, it's grown down through this valley in between these two hill groups here, which, that's fair enough, but it's not easy for me to go ahead and provide a good location for a station, that's for sure. And I think this is probably the best it could be. It could be a bit further north, but then we get a little bit too close to Inverness. Then after that, we've got a gradual curve which gets a little bit sharp just under the airport, and then you arrive in there at Inverness Station, which Inverness Station itself is doing not too bad. That was at a lot more passengers before, but since we've upgraded the Aberdeen-Thurso line, the new trains are doing extremely well. Also interestingly to see that Inverness Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, the Edinburgh Inverness is actually teetering on the profit. So hopefully now I've already set up all the junctions and all the lights. I should just be able to go ahead and actually modify it to add in a few extra stations. Then it should be good to go. So let me go ahead and do that now. So let me think about this. After Perth, we're going to be going up to Pitlochry. Then from Pitlochry, we're on to Aviemore, and then Aviemore into Inverness. I reckon Inverness is going to become an extremely busy station. One thing to note is about these two stations that I built, Pitlochry and Aviemore, they're only single track stations, and I'll explain why that is in a second. Back to Perth, and then it should be back to Edinburgh Park for number 10, and that is the new modified line complete. So we'll go ahead and go to the train depot which serves this line, which I believe is this one here, Stirling Train Depot number 2. And for the time being, I'm only going to buy 2 or 3 extra trains. I'm not really at all sure. I think we'll just start off with the 2, so we'll only have 4 trains on this line, which is not a lot. Also note that I imported in some more mods, so I've got some more trains, like this is new. This is it's not probably a train I'm going to use, to be totally honest, but there's another series coming up which I'll talk about later along down the line. It's more going to be a live streaming series, but I'll talk about that in a few more episodes time when the series gets closer to wrapping up. So let me buy 2 of you guys, and let's go ahead and set you on to the Edinburgh Inverness line, and that works out nicely. So you two guys are going to roll out and you're going to help the current 2 trains, and it's going to be a real while until we actually see how that does. Now, the thing to note here is the frequency. It's actually got the highest frequency. It's basically 2 minutes, 119 seconds, 120 seconds, 2 minutes. It's actually got a really good frequency. So I am a little bit skeptical about how it is going to do. I think it's going to do extremely well on the Edinburgh Park, Perth to Pitlochry stage. But at the same time, I don't know if Pitlochry will actually do that good, just the way the train station is positioned in town. Then I think it's not going to make as much money on the Aviemore Inverness section, but that's kind of understandable. So the reason I only went ahead and added in 2 platforms is because, one, it was really difficult on the train. Again, it was like wanting to put part of the station underground and part of it not underground. As you can see, they're also extremely long. These ones are actually 320 meters, so if I wanted to put anything fancy onto this line, I could, because all stations, Inverness would have to be upgraded, but I believe that would be the only station that would have to be upgraded to go ahead, or the 2 Edinburgh ones aren't either. Yeah, well, nonetheless, I've built them larger, and it's better to have them larger, I think. Also, I don't really think there's ever going to be another line on this, and that's why I didn't go for it. So the only line I could possibly see is maybe a Glasgow, Stirling, basically a connection from Glasgow up to Inverness, but at the same time you could just basically travel to Perth and then jump on the train from Perth, so it really doesn't make that much of a difference. So I think I'm just going to leave it there for now. So we'll come back and see basically later on in this episode how that gets on. As we can see up here, the North Food Line, this farm I think it's honestly calling for, and it's going to need another train, and that's what I'm going to go ahead and put onto the line. These trains just move so slow. They do carry a lot, but they just move so slow that they're not very, they're just not efficient. That's really the bottom line. I think that's why this line has struggled to make money for such a long time, but there's no real fast alternative. If I go ahead and actually look, I'm probably not going to change up from the current trains that I've got anyway, but I'm limited by the wagons, as we know, and the wagons can only go at a speed of 99 miles per hour. I buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of those, then we're limited again by speed. So if I go for locomotives, I mean, what choice have we really got? 95, might as well go ahead and buy you, because that's what I've consistently been buying. And then you'll just struggle, even though we've improved the line, even though we've done lots of things, it is just going to struggle in general. But let's go ahead and buy that, and hopefully that will continue to help out. I think I added in an extra wagon there, but oh well. I'm sure that will continue to help out what's going on there. I'm not really bothered about the profit. As long as it makes profit and not make a loss, then I'm happy. But it's more at the other end. I think we're going to start to make and produce a lot more food, which you can sort of see it's starting to pile up here. While we're in this part of the world, actually, I do want to go ahead and check out how all my food trucks are doing. So the Cumbernauld one is making a loss, but the Glasgow Stirling's doing well. The Peterhead one is doing extremely well, 700k, I like that. The Elgin one's making quite a large loss though, large enough loss that it's literally cancelling out the Peterhead, and Stirling's doing quite well as well. Why is the Elgin one doing so bad? Because I think most trucks actually have enough food. It's maybe just the positioning, or I know what the problem might be. Yeah, it's all getting produced for Peterheads, which that is a real issue, and I don't like that at all. So unfortunately for the time being, I'm just going to have to go ahead and remove 2 or 3 trucks, and we might go ahead and actually assign these, if anything, onto the Peterhead line. It's just the way this works, and until we get more food coming into here, then it's probably going to remain that way. Right, the next thing I want to do while we're up in this part of the world, I just want to see how everything is doing. So we're definitely struggling with Peterhead, and one of the bus routes in Peterhead is one which has always been a little bit on the edge, but recently I'm starting to see that it's doing really bad, and this is the Aberdeen to Peterhead. Why is this doing so bad? Well, for me it's an obvious reason. The route that it goes around this town is absolutely hideous, and it needs to be altered. So what am I going to do with this? Well, I think we're just going to go ahead and honestly, yeah, we're going to have to make a big change here. It's just a bad route, that's the thing. I mean, you can't see that very well. Let's go ahead and get this into a better colour first of all. Let's go ahead and stick that into a, orange isn't even that great as well. We'll do yellow because everyone can see yellow nice and easy. So I've already actually modified this route, but it's really not worked. I think the problem is ending at Lower Peterhead. That's really the thing, which is just not good at all. So what I want to do is go ahead and remove a few stops and change the order of a few stops. So there we go, that is the modification I've now made, and I'm much happier with that. We're not going via the stupid circular bus station, which I've always liked, but other people seem to not like it and they keep telling me to get rid of it, but it's now no longer in use. I'll leave it there for the time being in case things change, but I'm just hoping that will go ahead and make things profitable. While we're actually down by the dock as well, I want to see how all our boat lines are doing. Really, this one has always been doing well, and I really can't complain. If anything, it's making more money than it once did. I do want to jump down and turn my attention to the boat lines which we've recently created in the past 2 episodes here though, because we are seeing a good amount of profit on the Berwick one, but really not that great a profit on the Dunbar one, if I'm totally honest. As we can see, there is people waiting at all 3 stops. We've got people on all of the boats as well, which is nice to see. Varying numbers, that's for sure. I think that see, yeah, Dunbar's struggling. That's only 8 on that one. There is, to be fair, there's 35 on that one, but it's still not amazing, and you can just tell that by the profit margins. Again, I could pull another boat off if I wanted to, but for the time being, I think I'm okay. The next thing I want to do is actually, there's just so many people waiting again. That's my problem, and it really annoys me. On what buses? That's the thing. I do need to go ahead and do another quick round of the buses and see what is actually going on. It's literally all about Stirling and all about Perth, and I really don't know why. It just frustrates me so much. Even though we've got a railway line going in between this now, and as you can see here, holy shit, the amount of people that want to travel on the Edinburgh-Inverness line already. 700 people waiting at the station. It wasn't as bad as, I think it was Aberdeen station, which at one point had 800. Yeah, I mean, that's not doing very well either. So as we can see, these are the two of the changeover stations, which we have quite a few throughout the map, but this is just, as I said, it's literally all the traffic coming from Glasgow, Stirling who want to go north. They have to jump off here and essentially just wait for a train to come along. But I do need to go ahead and work on buses, trams as well. Trams are doing this is so strange as well, and it annoys me. So let me go ahead and actually start off with Perth and all the vehicles in and around Perth. First line I need to look at is a Dundee Perth. It's making such a large loss, yet I don't know why. 66 people waiting there, 49, 50. There's a lot of people waiting to travel in between these 2 towns, but it just isn't seeming to happen very well. That's the problem, but I don't know why, because it's not like there's a large queue here at this station at all. And there's people waiting. How busy are you? You've already got 30 passengers on you and you've just left the station, so it's something that I'm a little bit confused about. Just making sure there's no blockages in the road or there's any problems. I realise we haven't even modified this. That's the thing, I don't understand why you're making a loss. the thing is, I click on multiple of them and they are full. That's the thing I just really do not get. Again, you've still got 30 on you, so it's something which I am very just confused about. If anyone's got any ideas on why I'm actually making a loss in this, then do please go ahead and tell me, because that is something which I really do need to go ahead and sort out. Right now I'm just going through the list and basically seeing all the lines that are in the profit and loss. So all the air links are in the loss, which is understandable, and all the air routes are still in the loss as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and send one of those planes back to the depot. Really what I'm trying to do now is just try and cut as many losses out as possible and just try and turn them into some form of profit. So with the Highlands Lothian, I might even go ahead and, like, literally how many people actually use this route? So few do use this route. It's like there's one person waiting here, which, one, I don't really know why you travel alone, to be honest. Up at this end, there's the Highland Glasgow isn't doing that bad, that's the thing. I'm surprised that's not actually gone into profit yet. I'm a little bit disappointed that it's not gone into the profit, but the Edinburgh to Inverness one, that is just, it's done absolutely awful, and I'm really considering stopping it actually. I don't understand why it's doing so bad though, that's the real thing. Looking at the Airline buses that are turning up here as well, they're both totally empty, so there's just no desire to fly in between the two. So we've got one of the aircraft which is returned here. I'm just thinking about going ahead and trying to change out the aircraft for smaller aircraft, but aircraft that cost less money to run, because as we can see, this Airbus here costs 1.96 million to run per year, which is quite a lot. And if I can go ahead and reduce that down to, for example, only 160,000 per year with an 8-passenger plane, then we pretty much might as well go ahead and do that, because that seems to really be only the amount of passengers we're drawing in. What I think I am going to do actually, and this goes back to my Airline Tycoon series, if you did see that series, then shout out to you, because that series was a good series. We had the Douglas DC-4, so what I want to do is actually go ahead and deploy one of you onto the route, and you're actually going to be the only plane I think for the route. Again, I might do something similar for the Highlands to Glasgow air route. It's just struggling, that's the thing, it's just struggling, and I need to go ahead and try and, as I said, cut out those losses. Right, the final thing I want to do is go ahead and turn my attention to the Dumfries Carlisle area, because this area has been so badly neglected. So the first thing I want to do is actually go see how the road vehicles are doing. Looks like we've got an error, which is strange. It's to do with the Elgin food processing plant. I'm sure it's fine, I'll go ahead and look at it in a second. So, let's go ahead and see. Carlisle to Dumfries, it's in the profit again, which is good. The 3 buses are pretty much full, which is understandable, but I'm going to go ahead and start off by modifying this line and modifying quite a few lines around this area and just go ahead and improve coverage overall. So I could just see myself adding in an extra stop roughly probably here. Way back when we built this line, there probably wasn't much buildings in between the two towns at this area, but as the towns have grown, they have gone ahead and really joined together, but I've not gone ahead and obviously updated the transport system just because I've not been down this part of the world. Right, so after bus stop number 3, we're going to come in here to Park Avenue, then after bus stop number 5, we're going to go back to Park Avenue, so that is that modification made nice and easy. The one thing I'm going to do before I go ahead and forget to do it is to add on more buses, because it's something which is evidently needed quite badly. Again, we're just going to go with city buses too, because they are the best, they can carry the most people, they've got a relatively low cost run per year, and I think they will go ahead and serve this route quite well. So let me go ahead and assign those onto the Carlisle Dumfries. As we can see, there is a large amount of people actually waiting at the stops to go in between the towns, and I think that we've already got people waiting at our new stop as well, so it's definitely required. Maybe 3 buses a little too many, but we'll start off with there and see how things go. It might just be a thing once you start to clear the backlog, everything will sort itself out. So the next thing I need to do is go ahead and the 2 bus lines which actually go out of these towns. So let's start off with the Carlisle Newcastle actually. So surprisingly, this one is doing absolutely amazing. It is on 1.1 million right now, but we can see that there's so much room for growth. 127 people waiting there. At Carlisle Central, there's 100 people waiting to go as well, so there's definitely room to go ahead and add in some more bus stops and more buses. I'm going to add on a bus stop here as you leave town just to cover this end of town a little bit better. So this is going to be after bus stop number 2. It's going to come into here, and then after bus stop number 6 at Richmond Road. So that is us dealt with that at that end. However, in Newcastle I could see again us adding in another bus stop as you leave town. So we'll add one here up by these few junctions over here, and after bus stop number 2 we're going to go ahead and add you in there, and then it's going to be after bus stop number 8 Richmond Road. You're going to come into Albert Road, then the Crescent, and then you'll be back into the Newcastle branch, which is good. So that's another modification there, which will hopefully just go ahead and attract a few more extra people to the bus line. Again, we're going to go ahead, and I think I'm actually going to add in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buses onto this. That's quite a lot, however, I do predict quite a bit of growth, and in saying that, I've just gone ahead and did that, and I might be building a railway line in between the two. I know that, however, it's probably going to be a little bit of time before the railway. I'm not going to do the railway this episode, that's for sure, and I think I actually want to move back to goods in the next episode anyway, so it's maybe something which is... It's on my list again, but it's not something which is at the top of my list. I think we can go ahead and deal with the issue right now with buses. Alright, so let's go ahead and assign those 6 buses onto the Carlisle Newcastle. That'll make a big difference, and I really reckon that will go ahead and go a long way to help turning extra profits. And then if we turn our attention here to the Dumfries to Prestwick line, we can see up here in Prestwick that there is a large amount of people waiting. There is... well, 50, I mean it's not the largest amount, but it is a relatively large amount. We can see as well I'm starting to get these vehicle warnings, which is annoying me already. So with that stop there, we're going to go ahead and add in another stop right on the edge of town there. Then coming into Dumfries, I can definitely see another stop, probably going just after this junction here, and that looks nice and good to go. So let me go ahead and very quickly modify this line and add in those new stops. Right, so that is those extra stops that I added in, and as you can see, this line is actually doing extremely well in the profit as well. It's at 1.6 million, so I cannot complain about that at all. As we can see at this end, there is 112 people waiting there, there's 149 people waiting there, there's already 2 people waiting at my new bus stop, so again there's an extremely large backlog which we need to go ahead and clear. The backlog didn't seem to be as big at Prestwick. However, I think that Prestwick still has better connections anyway. It's got trams, it's got trains, it's got buses, so that's understandable why things aren't as bad there, but they are as bad down here in the Highlands. So let's go ahead and assign you onto the Dumfries to Prestwick line, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much the lowlands, or I say the lowlands, these 2 towns dealt with for the time being. I am going ahead and, Jesus, it's something which I will deal with. I've only dealt with some of the routes, and I've obviously not dealt with all of them, so that is something which I'll go ahead and deal with. I've got a lot to deal with in between episodes, that's for sure. I would say though that in general Carlisle, you're at 38%, which I'm surprised that that's really that high, and you're at 36%. I would still say that things are really poor. If we're going ahead and using this as the central bus stop here, the more central one for the whole town, you can see that so much of the town going down here towards our sawmill, and going up the top here towards the large road which connects up to Edinburgh. I can really see that we're not doing too well. So what I think I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a new route spontaneously here. What town's it going to be from? Is it going to be from Dumfries or Carlisle? I think we're going to do it from Dumfries actually, just a Scottish to Scottish connection, and that's actually going to use this road. 1, also go up via the airport, and 2, go into Edinburgh. I know and I realise Edinburgh's extremely busy, however it might get better use of the airport, that's really what I'm hoping. Plus it means we can go ahead and serve other parts of town which we don't do already here. So let me go ahead and add in a stop there, then let me go ahead and add in a stop just as you leave town, then you'll come all the way up here and then you'll stop in at the airport. Then from the airport you're going to continue on into the city. I'm just thinking what the best way to go into the city actually is, and to try and avoid roads which already have buses. That is something which I want to go ahead and do. Do we want you to go into the station? I'm really not honestly that bothered. I think you should though go into the station, because the station doesn't look that busy if I'm totally honest, and it's something that is easy enough to do. This major road here is quite busy, the road which is coming through Edinburgh, but there is bus lanes, so that sort of goes ahead and solves the problem. As you can see today we're in Fife, and yeah, the game issues are starting to get very bad, but I'm trying to hide the fact that they are, and I don't want to complain about it, because I do moan a lot, and I don't want to come onto games and moan when I'm moaning throughout my whole day anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a stop into there, then what we're going to go ahead and do is get this line created very quickly. So that is the Dumfries from Edinburgh line now created. Now my worry is that I've got 2 extra buses. That's a good thing, it's not a worry. I really don't know how popular this route's going to be, and that's something that I am not really at all sure if I should be going for City Bus 1s or City Bus 2s here. I think what we're going to do is we're maybe going to do a mixture. So I can see this route being profitable a little bit, because there's no real good connection between those 2 towns. If you want to come from Carlisle or Dumfries, then what you have to do is you either have to go to Newcastle or Prestwick, then you have to probably jump on a train from those towns to get to Edinburgh. At least you're going to be able to go direct now, but at the same time, how many people actually want to make that journey? I don't think it's going to be a lot. Anyway, with that done, the final thing we are going to go ahead and do is try and ignore the lag. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get rid of the Airline. As you can see, the Dunbar Airline is doing absolutely awful. I actually might change those buses up at some point, because it's just doing that bad. As we can see as well here, the Edinburgh Airline is on a minus 200k, so it's doing extremely bad. So we can go ahead and sell those buses, and then we can delete that line. At least that problem's solved and it's integrated into one line, which is good. That's something which I think that line should now make some money. I'm hoping for. We could almost get rid of the Dunbar Airline, because that's doing so bad. So I think that's what I'm honestly going to do. We're just going to get rid of the Dunbar Airline, because there's no, honestly, it's never ever going to make that much money. And if anything, is it ever going to have any passengers? That's the thing which I'm really wondering. Anyway, what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to wrap this episode up here. Hope you have enjoyed it. Do apologise if it was a bit all over the place, and if it was just a little bit more choppy and a little bit more stop-start. Right now I am doing a lot of coursework, so I'm a little bit stressed, so I am not feeling my total self, if I'm totally honest, and YouTube is something which I like to go ahead and do and relax, and that's why I do it. But it's not YouTube that's stressing me out, it's just other factors, but it's sort of overlapping into YouTube right now, and it's something which I don't like, and I would love to be my normal self right now, but it's just difficult. If people go to university or have a stressful job, they would understand the boat that I'm in right now. It's just, it's difficult. University is extremely difficult right now. Anyway, with that said, and me enough moaning for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and leave things here. So again, in this video, I've asked you for a lot of help. Air routes, and also one of my train lines as well. Tell me if you've got any tips, because my air routes are just doing awful, let's be honest. They're doing really, really bad. Anyway, that is it for this video, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you very much for watching. My name is ConflctNerd Callum, and I'm out.